Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Wednesday, December 18th. Right now, we're talking about a name that has been pretty hot in the coaching, NFL head coaching discussions, that kind of world that's going on right now, which the Jaguars will presumably be a part of that world. It was rumored, reported, speculated that if things didn't go well against the Lions, maybe there would have been changes then. Things didn't go well against the Lions. Newsflash, right? And you still have the same exact group in place right now in Jacksonville. So we don't know at this point exactly what's going to happen. It still seems likely, if I had to predict, that Doug Peterson will be gone as the Jaguars head coach, be out after 3 years. Did some good things, fell off over the last year and a half, certainly. You talk about the disappointment of this year and of this season and of this regime, and whoever the Jaguars end up trying to interview and potentially hire, Trent Baalke should not be around for that either. Bottom line, that will limit potential candidate pool. No question about it. But talking about Liam Coen, he's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator. Looking at his history, his first NFL job was as the assistant wide receivers coach for the Los Angeles Rams, 2018, 2019. Before that, he had various jobs at small schools. And Brown, quarterbacks coach, 2010, Rhode Island, 2011, passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach. Brown back to Brown, quarterbacks coach. UMass, passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach. Maine, offensive coordinator, 16 and 17. Then the Rams took their shot on him as the assistant wide receivers coach, 18 and 19. He became the assistant quarterbacks coach for the Rams in 2020. Kentucky, 2021, offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. Back to the Rams to be the offensive coordinator in 2022. And then in 2023, back to Kentucky, offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. And then 2024, offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and play caller. One thing that he did not have the opportunity to do in Los Angeles is be the full-time play caller, with Sean McVay being the head coach and offensive mastermind for the Rams. Liam Coen was not able to do that there, but in Tampa, he has done that, and he's done it at an extremely high level for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, coordinating that offense, calling the plays for that offense. He's been fantastic. Obviously, there's a lot of talent there, offensive line talent, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, running back talent. They hit it big with Bucky Irving this year. Rashad White has been a pretty decent running back for them as well. So they've had a lot of good going on there. There's no question about it. Is he the man for the job in Jacksonville? There's a lot that goes into that. I think one thing in his favor that the Jaguars are going to need from this next head coach is someone who can relate to, manage relationships with young football players, with these players that are now born in the 2000s, born in. Next year you could have guys in the league born in 2000, 2004, 2005, right? These players they're from a different generation. Things have changed. Not every coach is changing with the times. And the Jaguars need a head coach that has the ability to connect with these young football players that come up in a different generation, that have had things done differently around them, that have come with, the transfer portal and the ability to make money in college from endorsements and all that stuff, right? It's a different world. And these players that come in now, it's different. It's different than it was 5 years ago. So whoever is going to be the Jaguars head coach needs to be able to understand that and effectively navigate that and navigate those relationships and build genuine connections. I think Liam Coen can do that based on what we've seen throughout his career. He's only 39 years old, so obviously not one of these older head coaches and not a retread, obviously. And that can be a pro and a con. When you look at his offense, it's not like this is my offense. This is how we're going to do things from a schematic standpoint. I think he's done a good job building around his players at every stop over the last several years. And obviously, working under Sean McVay does not hurt. He said in his introductory press conference with the Buccaneers that he kind of got his PhD in coaching working under Sean McVay, especially as the offensive coordinator there. So I think, and you've seen Sean McVay evolve as a play caller. That was a team that was primarily running zone concepts in the run game. They identified maybe a potential advantage that they could establish as more of a gap and power running team. They went and added the bodies to do that. And that's what they've become in Los Angeles, both with the offensive linemen that they've added and the runners as well. So he comes from a mold where I think that he can build around the talent he has and try to add talent that fits what he's looking for, but also fit what he wants to do around the talent that he has. So I think that's key. I think that's critical, and I think that's great. He's done really well with all his quarterbacks lately. Obviously, Stafford at Kentucky, they did a tremendous job in 2023. It wasn't perfect there. Obviously, talent is never going to be perfect at a job like Kentucky, but they put up a lot of points in that 2023 campaign. Obviously, the fact in my mind that he's an offensive coach helps. Everything feels well thought out and executed. What you're seeing him do in Tampa, working around Baker Mayfield's strengths. I like the fact that he's an offensive coach. Does your head coach have to be an offensive coach in this day and age? No. Does it help? I think it does. I really do. The fact that the person at the top of the coaching ladder in your building is the one that has his hands on the pulse of your quarterback, your offensive line, your receivers, all that stuff. Look, defense is critical. Offense is more important, especially when you have a quarterback. And the Jaguars have a quarterback. They've got some talent. And so I think that, and then you also don't run the risk of losing your offensive infrastructure. Like, let's say things go really well and you have a defensive head coach. You run the risk of losing your offensive infrastructure if your offensive coordinator gets hired to be a head coach, right? That's kind of how it goes. Bottom line. So I do believe you would rather have an offensive coach, all things being equal. Does that mean you can't hire a defensive coach? No, absolutely not. There's good defensive coaches in the NFL. But I think in a perfect world, you would like to have a good coach, a really good coach, who also happens to be on the offensive side of the ball. I do like the way that Liam Coen talks and communicates in press conferences, mic'd up. Everything you've heard from everyone that has worked with him or that he's worked under speaks very highly of Liam Coen. And again, working under Sean McVay does not hurt. Not everyone that works under Sean McVay is a superstar. But I think Liam Coen has shown that he has what it takes as a offensive play caller, coordinator, all that good stuff, away from Sean McVay, not just under Sean McVay's tutelage. But to be in a room with a McVay or a Shanahan, you have, and there's a reason he said he got his PhD coaching under Sean McVay. You have to be so mentally sharp, so on point, so studious, so locked in. You're just not going to survive in that world unless you are. And he did a good job, and Sean McVay speaks highly of him. And then he goes back to Kentucky, does a great job there, goes to Tampa, does a great job there. Questions about Liam Coen. Can he manage the whole thing? No head coaching experience at any level, but he has worked under a lot of different styles of head coaches, which is, I think, a good thing. But can he manage the whole thing? It's difficult. You see good coaches struggle at times managing the whole thing. It's really hard to do. Can he manage the whole operation? Offense, hiring a defensive coordinator, identifying a good defensive coordinator, working in conjunction with the front office. That's the question. with Liam Coen? And that's the question with Ben Johnson. And that's the question with Joe Brady. I think all these guys obviously are great offensive minds. I think the Jaguars, from an offensive play calling standpoint, would be lucky to have any of them. Liam Coen, Ben Johnson, Joe Brady. That's the question. And for the Jaguars to get this right, they either have to get extremely lucky or they have to redefine their hiring process, the interview process, the vetting of these potential coaches. They need people in that room, in those interviews, who know what it takes historically and in the modern NFL world, and people who are passionate about the NFL, people who are passionate about the Jacksonville Jaguars. What is it going to take to have that accomplished? I don't know. And you nor I can make this the right hire, right? We won't be there. We won't be going through the interview process, the vetting process. We won't have the background checks, the talks with all the former people he's worked with, right? We won't have that opportunity. That's going to come down to Shad Khan, Tony Khan, the decisions they're going to make in order to make sure that their hiring process is right this time. But I can tell you absolutely, once again, who should not be there, and that's Trent Baalke. If Trent Baalke is once again the general manager of this football team, until he is no longer the general manager of the team, I don't think that they can build a consistent winner. Bottom line. You have to have a unified vision. You have to be in lockstep. You have to have each other's backs. And Trent Baalke, as we have seen, has not had his coaches' backs. Far too often. Far too often. So that's kind of how I feel about Liam Coen. I would be very excited if he ends up becoming the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach, but I nor you know enough and will have enough information to really say with any certainty if he will be the right guy for the job until we actually see him in action. No one will, because it's impossible to know how someone is going to handle the stressors of the public relations, which, of course, being an offensive coordinator is good. Gets you a little foot in the door when it comes to dealing with media. But you deal with way more media. You deal with way more drama, both sides of the ball, special teams, all of it. You deal with a lot more just organizational issues than the offensive coordinator. So can Liam Coen handle that? We don't know. Everything points to the fact that probably he can, but again, we won't know until we see him in that position. But that's going to do it. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. Once again, I think Liam Coen is a great head coaching candidate. I really do. I would be excited about him being in Jacksonville if that's how it ends up working out. Jaguars tried to get a different Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator not too long ago. Maybe this time around it will work out, but in order for that to happen, I would have to imagine Trent Baalke not being here. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Y'all have a good one.